Wilkerson. I work at George Mason University as an employer engagement consultant, and I'm also the host of a podcast called Positive Filter. So today, we're going to be doing is the goal setting vision. And so before we get started, we actually have some materials here. I won't show everybody, but we got some materials on the wall. We got some candy. We got some pictures. But before we make our vision board, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about the point of this. What is vision? So I'm going to start off with a quick story. And this is always a story I like to share in regards to vision and goal setting. Is there was a master and there was a teacher. And think of that movie. How many people have seen Moana? Moana, the Wayfinders. And so this person was going out on a journey, and they were working on their boat, similar to Moana, going further and further out away from their island. And so this person was training, doing really well, and they got in touch with their master. And the master said, "All right, I see you practicing. I see you getting better. Answer this question for me. Where's Tahiti?" And the person was like, "I've never been there before. Why you ask me that question?" You said, "You're not ready to go." So they had to go back, kept on studying, kept on preparing, kept on getting better. And then the master said to him again, they came back and said, "Okay, you saw me, I'm getting ready. You saw me getting ready for this journey. I'm ready to go." And the master said, "Where's Tahiti?" And that person said, "I don't know. I've never been there. I've never been there before. Why are you telling me this story or asking me this question?" And the teacher said, "You're not ready." So goes back out one more time, goes out, practices, gets the spear, using the fish and all that. And then goes back and says, "I've been really frustrated, but I've been passionate about this. I've been dreaming about this." And so the teacher says to him, "Oh, dreaming? Answer this question. Where's Tahiti?" And the student finally said, "It's in my mind." So what's the point of that, right? So as you embark on a journey, it's always good to start with that vision in your mind. It's kind of like a map, the map to that destination. And so I kind of thought of it in a way that's organized is what are the 4 steps to get from a vision to a goal, to attainment. So I usually say step 1. Step 1 is you start with a vision. Now, people can say vision, you can think of vision as just an idea or thoughts or dreams. But basically, it's up here, that idea. You need to think about it in your mind. What is your vision? That vision, for this story, for Tahiti, it could be a macro thing. I just want to graduate college. That's the idea. That's the dream. That's the thought. So you have the step 1, right? The dream, the thought, the idea. Then step 2 for this is then you need to put it on paper. And that's kind of what we're doing today, right? So you think about it, everything, an idea, initiative, everything starts out with an idea, but it has to be put on paper. What good is it if it's stuck in your head? So in a macro sense, if ideas, it could be a strategic plan. That's a realistic thing to put on paper. For today, it could be what we're doing is putting it on a vision board. For other people, it's a to-do list. But no matter what, you have to put it down somewhere. You have to take it from that idea or vision and put it on somewhere. Maybe for that story with Tahiti, that was an actual map, right? Map it out, chart your journey, whatever you want to call it. Then step 3 is actually you have to act, right? I think the Bible verse, what is it? James 2:26, something like without this, the body without the spirit is not something, but then it says works good. But I just know this second half, works without deeds, though. Works without deeds is dead. And what that means is works without deeds. So if you have a vision with no action, it's already done. It's dead. The idea is dead. So therefore, for vision to put it on paper, then you actually have to act on that and what you put on paper. So one thing I think about is though, when you have an action or strategic plan or this vision that you're doing, is it one act? Is it acts, work without deed? No, it's deeds. So actions need to be repetitive, continuous. So I usually tell people in between the last part of attainment is that it needs to be reoccurring actions that transform into habits. And then I usually say last of it is then step 4, obviously, goal attainment. Now, I know this is really oversimplified because in this part, there's also, you got to reassess. Sometimes you have to actually go back to your vision and say, is this really what I want to do? So this is not a linear thing. This is cyclical, right? That works without actions. Well, I'm already off the screen. Works without action is not there. And then putting it vision, paper, actions, reoccurring, and that's what it is. And so with that, we're going to actually do that. We're going to do the step 1 right now. And we're going to actually do 2. We're going to do vision. Thinking about that, take a couple moments to think of what you want to do. Yeah, go ahead. Think about what you want to do. And then we're going to think about, not only are we going to think about what we have visualized, but we're also going to think about putting it on paper. So what I like to do is after I take a couple moments, I think about what I want to do, and then I start putting it on paper or cutting out my images or whatever. Some people, and I think this is okay too, some people like to write out their goals and then reaffirm them with the pictures. So like maybe think of the goals you already have and then see the images that align to it. There's really no wrong way to do it. You can do random ideas that come in your head and images that align with it, or have your goals written out first and then think of corresponding images. Because what is the point of vision or vision board? And I'm going to put that in there too, is that this is supposed to just be a physical reminder of the goals that you set. The brain works randomly. I don't believe in like manifestation. You just get it happen done. But your brain is triggered by things, right? Like think about like Pavlovian response, right? The dog, they kept on doing an experiment, and then the dog, every time the dog saw food, his mouth would water because he thought of it, right? It's the brain is triggered into this. So what the point of this vision board is supposed to reaffirm the goals you set. When you look at this board or look at your board, it's supposed to trigger you to the goal that you set. And it's supposed to trigger you to say, okay, what actions do I need to take that align with that image? So I'll share an example, right? This is my last year's board right here. Last year's board, I put positive filter. I put a logo, my podcast logo, on my board. And the reason why I put that on my board is that one of the concrete goals for my podcast was that I was going to actually get 60,000 downloads. So that was my actual goal, was 60,000 downloads. So every time I looked at this positive filter logo, it jogged my memory, say, am I doing what I need to do for my podcast? Am I recording enough? Am I releasing episodes? Am I doing X, Y, and Z? So it just triggered that. Another one, I wanted to be a public speaker. I'm doing it right now. So I just took a picture. I Googled black public speaker. The first thing that came up was, what is this? I think that's John Lewis, right? And I was like, okay. So every time I saw this image of John Lewis looking like he's on a stage, it would remind me, am I doing things to become a better public speaker? It would reaffirm me to go to Toastmasters. So, and I had this TEDx too. That's one of my goals, someday to do a TEDx. So the images help jog me into action, but it's not just for naught. These images that I have are basically reinforcing my vision and reinforcing the things I already put on paper and reinforcing me to act in reoccurring manner that will eventually turn into habits, and then habits turn into who you are. I thought about that too from the top down. If I say I want to be a public speaker and I put on paper I'm going to be a public speaker, then I do the actions of a public speaker, then I do it reoccurring, then eventually it becomes my being. I'm a speaker. If that makes sense. So all these things, it's all aligned, it's all concurrently. And I wanted to share it with you because this is my second time doing it. This is my second board. And I was just like, man, you know what? Why don't I share this? I thought it was a cool idea. Why don't I share it? So I don't know if we got someone virtually, or do we have any questions or any ideas or any thoughts? Everything good? All right. So what we're going to do is then we're going to do at least, what time is it? I can't even tell. We're going to do a couple minutes and we're just going to start 12:10. So at the 30 mark, we're going to stop, do a check-in, maybe see if you have the vision board, if you have another side piece of paper, we're going to think about writing the actual goals that go on that. And then we'll go back to doing it and then we'll finish. All right. So I'm going to put, for those that are joining us live, I wonder if this is going to work. We're going to put on some music.
It's great again. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to say again because they never were. And
turn it up. You do that. Right now, look at my process. I'm cutting up some images. I got some motivational stickers. You know, use everything. Yep. Oh yeah, 100%. Everything is for everybody. Please, anything, all this, cut up this stuff. All this stuff, I'm afterwards. Please cut it up and use it because after this, I'm not taking this all back. I'm putting it in recycle. All the magazines. Huh? Maybe so. Or maybe put it in the closet. Or maybe do another workshop or something like that. Okay, never mind. I'll put them away somewhere. So we got 2 people on here. I don't know who's on here watching, but welcome. If you got any questions, throw it in the comments. Nah, because it's like streaming. Oh, okay. So. And then we're doing it. Any other comments? Anyone joining? Y'all got your boards out? I don't know. Yeah, and I gotta we got in it. We got featured in it, and then yeah, it's not like a big deal. All you just email them and they say I'd like to be featured. Huh? No, like meaning like it's a community magazine, and they say, would you like to be featured? And we say, yeah. And you email them and say, I'd like to be featured. And then we shared our story. They liked our story. They're like, wow, that's a good story about intergenerational living. Put you on. Yeah, you know. Yeah. I think that's called intergenerational, multi-generational. It's better than saying just the person. I was more sophisticated. And then, because of that, they also give you like a nice thing photo. So we got that nice photo of the draft. Well, for that, I mean, last year, they make you interview and like well, it was weird because first they said they open nomination. Someone nominated. That nomination thank you. Slots for the pilot. That's good. That's money. So.
It's like, well, perhaps you should start on the chapter level first.
What?
Oh, this is real different from George Mason.
Yeah. Who they think they are? Yeah, I take that as a chip on my shoulder too. And I was like, all right. But then I just things that are like, see, like I'm motivated by things like that. But then, like I do like good things, and they asked me to join again. Like their Black alumni asked me to join or something. Oh.
Editing. I'm not so shaken over.
Who they think they are? The phone's on it. Like, you know, someone from Lisa. You remember Christine, who's a Vega? She was the director of career services here. She also, like, now works for Free Time for Friendship. She's on it. She's on that current board. For James Madison. See that this picture right there? This is when I was in that. Picture. I'm specifically giving a picture of Jeff. one of the things I love visual is to think about like what people, like he said, active listening. So that's kind of one of my things that I work on too. Speaking less and listening more. Like you be sitting there looking for he was good at it. He was the type of person that would and he would come out. Oh, it's not that person. Very good time. Or it's gonna like know their whole life story. Or like it's because they listen and people just feel like oh, so here we go. There it is. All right. He said, for the body apart from the spirit is dead. Also faith apart from works is dead. Thank you. Sammy answered the quote. Well, see, I knew it was something like that. The point is faith without works, right? You got to do the work. And if you have this vision without actions, that's dead. Well, Sammy, what are you drawing? Are you looking at some images there in the virtual space? Because like I said, at the 30 mark, we're going to take a halftime. And I'm going to talk about how to look at some of your images that you already have and then put it on paper. Because I have an idea of what I do. I mean, this is what I do. You could do something totally different. There we go. I got that. This is chill hop. You all heard of this before? It's like lo-fi. It's like just go to YouTube and type in chill hop. It's like good music. Also like how there's different people's styles come up, like like I actually connect and came prepared. Like like I'm just like and that's like I said, people and I'm more like I'll figure it out. Put something on there. It'll be alright. Whatever comes to my head. Yeah, those are stickers. Yeah, those are stickers. Yeah, I take the roll. Take off. Let's see. I wonder if I can show what I want. Okay, yeah. Actually, it makes sense. Actually, it makes sense. All right, good idea. So, I need you to be perfect person. Perfect sense. When I get paid. When I get paid, you can get paid. You know my Mason salary.
Well, hopefully it increased this week.
For some. I mean, that's what
You get that increase too? You check it.
I was told. No.
Oh, shit. Oh, okay.
Well, people. A couple more minutes, we'll take a little intermediate. And then look at this vision board. Yes, I said I felt those in the audience. 1 minute we'll break and all right, so this is like the halfway mark, and I share what I have so far and how I will take that and turn it into gold. And so one, I don't know how it's gonna hold up, but whatever. Let's see. Well, I'll just hold it like this. So if you look here, one of the things I do is I actually have a book. I call it my random thought book, and I actually have my goals or poems or things that come in my head. And so what I did, and I already started, is every year when I do this vision board, right here, you see my vision board. Let's see if I can set it up here. Yeah. When I have my vision board, what I do is I also have concurrently, I have my goals. Now, I like to be organized with my goals, which is weird to say for some people to say, wow, Philip, you're actually organizing something. Yes. So what I'll do is I'd make them in categories. So the categories that I like to do, and I'll put on the board, and this just helps me, is I do categories such as, someone see me yet? I do health, wealth, work, podcast, and it's just me because I like, I have a certain goal. Podcast, social, spiritual, relationships, community, and fun. And I don't know, I like to categorize it. You can categorize whatever you want. And then what I like to do is then I like to give each of these categories only 3 real things that I can think of. So health will have 3 goals. Wealth will have 3 goals. Work will have 3 goals. Podcast will have 3 goals. And so I'm using my vision board to fill in those things. So for instance, I shared earlier that I put on my board the picture of my father-in-law, right? And so he recently passed, but he was really impactful to me because we lived together. So one of the things I see in this board, I see him, his image of him, and then I put next to him me. So I'm gonna look in my goals and say, when I say either, I was thinking of either a way to like really say it like either it's gonna be social, because how I socialize, or family and relationships. But one of the things I wanted to work on this year was being a better active listener. And so I was going to write that like as one of my goals. And I think I'm going to put it in maybe relationship or family. I think I'll put it there. Be a better active listener within my relationships with my family. So I'm going to put that in that category. And then when I look at this image, of me next to Jeff, that's going to jog my memory for that one. That's going to be. And I was like, okay, some of those people have heard of SMART goals, like how is that measurable? How is that obtainable? Well, maybe sometimes these vision board goals, they don't always necessarily have to be like SMART goals with like full attainment and metrics. Some will, some won't. So some goals are just going to be, personality things I just want to actively work on. But other goals that I have would be priority. So another category I got on here on Instagram, I had the Instagram logo. Well, I'm thinking about it. One of the things I wanted to do was grow my podcast, but grow maybe the Instagram following. So this Instagram logo is going to help me follow my podcast goal as it aligns to social media. Does that make sense? So some of them can have real metrics and have numbers and be things. Some could just be personality. But what I like to do is I like to either put them down 1, 2, 3, and I'd like to concurrently match it to something. That's just me. I like to organize my goals, and then I like to look at these images and look at those images and say which one does that kind of help me jog my memory or help me reiterate the habits. I think of a lion right here. I was thinking about being the head of the lion with the mane. That's the male lion. Okay, now I'm not, I guess, technically the man of the house. So this male lion right here for me, in this regards to goals and vision, is to be more, I guess not say more fatherly, but take on more responsibilities, learning more. Like it kind of helps me with my house. I'm learning a lot more about the things and paying bills and things that I would have need to do now this year. So that line is going to help me remind me of being more like the chief of the family or whatever, the lion, whatever, Simba. And then I got a picture of my family because I just like my family. And my goal, and the goal there is just maybe be a better dad or be more present and all that stuff. So these images, and soccer is for my son. He likes to play soccer, and basketball, maybe go to more Mason basketball games, things like that. But I don't know, these images, and I like some of these stickers that already have words on it, like grow through what you go through. So at growth, that's going to be my mantra. Maybe I can look at that. Like you say, listen up, kids. But listen up, kids, that was last year. That was like me, like I want to be a good educator and inspire the youth. So that's it. Does anyone want to share like one of their images and thinking of like what goal come to mind when you put that image on there? If you're comfortable.
I'm in California.
Okay, what's the vision with the Cali?
Okay, so I really kind of see California as like I'm an actor, so I recently got picked up by a management company. So now I just got getting an agent, which is a bi-coastal agency. So my goal is I want to be able to move to California next year.
There it is. All right, Kasim, you see it. All right, your son's leaving you to go to Cali.
It's okay, they all got
But no, so now you see that, right? Cali is the destination, Cali, and then but there's day-to-day things that you can do to get there, right? Practice on your craft of acting, and you said you saw the step-by-step things, getting an agent, all that. So that representation of Cali, obviously, you can see how some of these images could almost break down and have multiple mini steps within that image, or it could just be straight up. So I like that. Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have a thing they want to share?
So still a little early in mine, but this little clip right here represents video games. It's one of the things that my kids really enjoy doing with me. So I want to make sure that I make more time to do that. I mean, we did a lot of NBA 2K over Christmas break.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that I build that in because they really enjoy it. And I don't always get to do it. So I need to make that part of my regular routine.
See, I love that. And see how the image of games trailed off into that other family goals or something. So the images, like you said, it's going to jog like, okay, it's time to play game. I love that. So that's how these things align and go down the rabbit hole. And as I said earlier, all these boards do. These boards don't like, oh, wow, I magically put stickers on a board. No, these things are just supposed to jog your memory. Like, what was I committed to at the beginning of the year? I see that, okay, I need to recommit to that. I fell off on that. And so one of the things I would suggest with this too is for you to have this mentally jog your memory. Would it have any value if you put it in the closet? No, you got to put it somewhere that's very visible, So this one was down in my office near my podcast stuff, just because I'm always there. Or it could be, somewhere else, a space that that's somewhere that you see often, not often. Because this exercise has no value if this image is put away or this board is put away somewhere that you can't see. And so I have it somewhere visible. But maybe sometimes people like to personalize it. So like I said earlier, I didn't have this board like in the family room. I had it in the office for me. This is my vision board, And so I kept it somewhere in a space that is my space. So it could be your office or whatever. But the main thing is if it's in a space, make sure it's a visible space that you can see this often and come back to it. And like I said, I've seen these images so much. I can tell you, like, I can go back in my mind and say, tell you why I put that. You asked me, what was JMU about? I was like, I was doing the board thing. I could tell a story with each image, right? I can say NACE. I want to do a NACE award. I can really go back. And this one was when I wanted to deplug from social media and use the burner phone for a little while because I did that before. So these things, right? Or, the jewels, just because I'm out. I wanted to be more alpha. And then 40 under 40. So like all these things, right? Like all these things, I could tell you the kitchen right here, there's a kitchen. We actually remodeled our kitchen. So I was like, yo, we're going to actually do it. So that was a thing. So some of these things were, because I've seen them so often and because these images were not hidden, they reaffirm my goal. I can tell you what goal they were attached to. And I can also tell you, and then I can look at it and go back to, as I said earlier, I also have another place I can see it. So like, I don't just have these images. I actually have words too that align like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Now, another thing I thought about too is sometimes the reassessment part of the goals or coming back to it. this is a very daunting thing, right? We're making a vision board for the whole year. You know, some people people make vision boards for seasons, for the semester, whatever. I'm saying this is gonna be my board for the year. But I like to also just strategically or purposely say, okay, I'm gonna do check-ins with my board and my goals. So I literally just say Q1. I'm almost like a business, you know, Q1, Q2, and Q3. And I'll say in March, I'm gonna come back to my board and go back to those things. And sometimes if you see here, for those that are here, but also there, what I did is I didn't just write it down. Where I gotta find it. I highlighted it when I was done. So like, where is it? Right here. Highlight it. So I highlighted some of the goals that I wrote and said I actually did it. So first, I'll give you an example. Get to 60,000 total downloads in my podcast. And when I got it done, I highlighted it. And then another one was I actually put community, support Black students at GMU. I think I did that. And that's BMSI, right? So these are things like that. Okay, now I understand. I gotta go back. What was the community one? The community one was like what I'm doing. Hold a leadership position. I put in there, hold a leadership position in a professional org. I got on the board of Eastern ACE, and I highlighted it. That was the thing. I wanted to be involved in a leadership position in my community. So check in with yourself too quarterly and do that. Do we have any questions or thoughts? Anyone in the audience either, on the virtual questions or thoughts? Any thoughts? Was this helpful? Is this like, does this all make sense? Okay, I was like, just think, okay. Cool. Yeah. And so, like I said, I got extra boards, other things, for those that are here today, we got like maybe a little mini cohort. The fact that we did this together, if you want to check in with me, accountability, maybe that quarterly check-in, I can check in and see how y'all doing and just say, what are y'all doing towards your goals, or if there's any way I can support you. I'm sorry I can't send you to Cali, but other ways that I can support you in your goal. Yeah. Hey, if you got to go find me, I'll throw it out there, throw the link on something. Send me to Cali too. Oh, actually, it's funny. I think I should put Cali on there too, because there's this conference, right? There's this conference that someone, it's like this healthcare management conference, right? Whatever. But they had a call for speakers, and I got the email. And if I get, if you do the proposal and get it, they give you a trip to LA. So I'm gonna put in my proposal and try my best. And so that would be like, you're right, you find it comes out there. I love it. And we have one comment here. It says the active creation of materials is a form of commitment. Yep. The active, yeah, great point, Dr. Steen. So, oh man, this is good. So maybe for those that are listening, I'm gonna close the stream because it's kind of boring, just me talking, But as I said to everyone in the room, if you're listening to this later or following this later, if you make your own vision board, feel free to contact me, DM me or email me in regards to keeping each other accountable for your goals. And then, that's what this is all about. All right. Take care, everyone, in the live stream.